will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Limata, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely. Won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing story time with Mr. Limata. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Limata, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely. Won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing.
Good morning and welcome to Story Time. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy Friday. Oh my goodness, the week is coming to an end, but stories continue. Thank you so much for joining me on Story Time today. I am glad we're here together again. And yes, a special book. This one, Hide and Don't Seek. This one is written by ANICA, RISSI, and we're reading it with permission of QUILL. 3 books, an imprint of HarperCollins Publishing. Thank you so much to them for allowing us to share this material here on Storytime. Hide and Don't Seek and Other Scary Stories. Yes. Ready for this one? I hope you are too. Thank you so much for joining me on Storytime today. Welcome. As always, let me know where you're joining in from and who is joining in with you. Excited for this wonderful story, and of course for our guest ANICA RISSI to read to us today. Yes, it is a recorded session. ANICA is not right now on jury duty, but I'm glad that we're still able to do it and have her here on Storytime. What a perfect way to round off our Halloween week. Thank you so much for being here, and good morning to you. I am excited for this one, and I hope that you are too. Hide and Don't Seek and Other Very Scary Stories. We're going to be reading story number 1 from this one. Good morning to you, and welcome to Storytime. Let us see who is with us before we jump into our story today. Thank you so much for joining in. How are you doing today? And you say happy Friday indeed, Garrick and baby Theo. How are you doing? And of course, Kate in rainy Pittsburgh. Please do send us some of that rain over here. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope that this story is just the right thing that you need right now. Thank you so much for joining in. Good morning to you. Happy Friday, you say. How are you doing today? Abraham and of course Terry right close by. Thank you so much for joining in. And you say, oh, Abraham is going to be a fireman for Halloween. Well, I am excited. You might see my costume later on. Do stay tuned. Have a safe and happy weekend, everybody, from Abraham and of course Terry. Thank you so much for that. Absolutely appreciate it. Good morning to you out in Massachusetts, Harvard, Massachusetts. How are you doing, Henry? Thank you for joining us. Good to see you. Of course, Marietta, how are you doing today as well? Happy Friday, everyone, you say. Well, thank you, Marietta. Thank you for joining us today. Glad you are here. Thank you. Yes, indeed, Susan. Good morning to you. Happy costume day at the schools in the US. Yes, I'm excited to change into that and get ready for school later on. Thank you so much for joining in. Good morning to you, Susan. How are you doing today? Thank you for joining in. Thank you. All right. Your coffee is ready. You love a scary story. And Susan, please do stay tuned because this weekend we're bringing an even scarier bunch for all the grown-ups out there. It will be happening this Sunday. So please do join in and it'll be amazing. I promise. We'll be reading from Roald Dahl so you know what to expect. Thank you so much for joining in. And today we have a special guest that is coming in. Of course, ANICA RISSI is here for our recorded session, a special session that we had together. I hope that you are ready for that one. And of course, she will be reading from her book, Hide and Don't Seek, and other very scary stories in this one. Yes, indeed, coming to you from QUILL Books, an imprint of HarperCollins. A big thank you to them for allowing us to share it right here on Storytime. And of course, a very big thank you to ANICA RISSI for being here with us, taking the time to share her story. Well, are you ready? All right, we'll be back on the other side of this message. But in the meantime, get your coffee like Susan, get your hot drink, get whatever you need that will make you cozy, or the coziest person around, and get ready for a beautiful story. All right, here we go.
Hola, my name is Shamile Sayed Mendez, and I am the author of Where Are You From, Furia, and many other books for young readers. You're watching Storytime with Mr. Limata.
Welcome back. Yes, we are. Let me just get that video going for you, and we're going to enjoy a beautiful story. I am so excited. All right, here we go. Just loading up a second, and let the fun begin. Oh, yes. I'll see you on the other side of this. All right, welcome everybody to another special edition of Storytime. And of course, you'll be joining in. We are here with ANICA RISSI. Always a pleasure. One of my favorite people. I'm so happy that we're here today for another exciting story. And if you remember, ANICA did bring us this amazing story, Love, Sophia on the Moon. And this one was done, of course, with the amazing Mika song. But this time, it's Halloween, and she brings us the creepy stories, the scary stories. Get ready for this one. It's called Hide and Don't Seek. And it is a great one indeed. I am excited for it, and she'll be talking more about it. She'll read from it. And yeah, I can't wait to get into it. And also just hearing a bit about what she's been up to, and how does one get to write scary stories. I am excited to be here with ANICA, and it is such a pleasure. A big thank you, of course, for the time that she's spending with us here. And without further ado, I am going to bring her on. Happy Friday to everybody that's joining in. And if you're joining us for the recording, please do leave your names below, and just remember that, let us know so that we can say hi to you next time. And of course, let us know who is joining in with you, where you're joining us from. And also, if you are watching us on YouTube or Facebook, remember that you can always find our stories in the archives. Go in, find what you want to see and enjoy, and then send us recommendations as well. Send as many as you can, and we'll do our very best to bring them here on Storytime. It is my pleasure at this point to welcome to Storytime ANICA RISSI. Welcome, ANICA.
Thank you. Happy Spooky Friday. Thanks for having me. I'm going to read you a story today from Hide and Don't Seek and Other Very Scary Stories, which is a collection of 20 all-new scary stories. Some of them are as funny as they are scary. Some of them will send a tingle up your spine. And some of them might make you want to hide under the covers and not come back out. So you have to decide how brave you're feeling and select your story accordingly.
Oh, I love it, because you do say in the cover, it does say, if you're feeling brave.
If you're feeling brave, turn the page. I'm going to read you the first story in the book, which is called Hide and Don't Seek. Which is actually the first of the 20 stories that I wrote. This was the first one that I came up with, so it has a special place in my heart that way. I'll also, for listeners here, I'll give you a secret. The main characters in this story are named Nikki and Jeremiah, which is a nod to me, Anika, and my older brother, Jeremy. Just changing our names a little. It's a fictionalized version, but maybe it tells you something about my relationship with my brother, or maybe it's a warning of a scary story for him. There's art in the book. I don't draw this artwork myself. It's drawn by Carolina Godina, and I just love this first illustration. It gives you a sense of how spooky it might be.
That is cool. That is so cool. And Anika, before I let you get started too, just a quick question. Where are you joining us from today?
I am joining you from Princeton, New Jersey.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And how's the weather like?
You know, it's not bad, although a thunderstorm might roll through and give us some crackling, frightening mood in the background at any second now. So let's see if that happens while we're recording or waits until we're done.
Oh my. All right. Well, take it away.
All right. Hide and don't seek. Nikki wanted to play with her brother, Jeremiah, but Jeremiah wanted to play with his friends. Your friends aren't here yet, Nikki said. Please, just one game before they come. Jeremiah gave in. Okay, one game. You hide and I'll seek. He covered his eyes and counted out loud. Nikki ran into the cornfield. She ran past rows and rows of corn until she reached the edge of the field. She ducked between two round bales of hay that were almost taller than she was. She crouched and held as still as she could. She waited to be found. But Jeremiah did not find her. Nikki listened for her brother's footsteps, or for the two-note whistle, one high, one low, that would signal he'd given up and she'd won. She heard only the wind in the corn stalks. It's a trick, she thought. He's not coming. She sank to the ground. He thinks he can just not play and get away with it. Well, I'll show him. I'm not moving until he finds me. She leaned against a hay bale and settled in for a nap. When Nikki opened her eyes, the sun beat down from straight overhead. It was close to high noon. She must have slept for at least an hour. Nikki blinked and stretched. She reached for the sky and heard a sound that made her freeze. It was her brother's whistle. One high note, one low. It sounded nearby. Carefully, so he wouldn't hear her, Nikki peeked around the hay bales. The whistle came again. One high note, one low. Nikki pursed her lips to whistle the response. One low note, one high, to give Jeremiah a clue. But before she could blow, she spotted something strange. A man in a red plaid shirt. The man turned toward Nikki, and she dropped down fast to her hiding spot. She held her breath and waited for the man's approach, but he hadn't seen her. He retreated into the rows of corn. Nikki's heart hammered in her rib cage. Stranger danger pulsed in her veins. She hoped Jeremiah would find her soon, before the unfamiliar man came back. She didn't dare whistle their signal or leave her hiding spot in case the man was still there. She would wait for her brother to rescue her. Once she saw him, she was certain she'd feel safe. She waited and waited and waited until she slept. When Nikki opened her eyes, it was dusk. The wind in the corn was the only sound, until she heard it. Jeremiah's whistle. One high note, one low. Her chest filled with cautious hope. Nikki peered around the hay bales, praying not to see the strange man. She didn't, but she didn't see her brother either. At first, Nikki saw no one, but the notes of the whistle sounded again. The leaves rustled, and an old man emerged from the rows of tall corn. The man walked slowly, his back hunched over a cane. He seemed to be using the cane as much for sight as for balance. He felt his way past the large bales of hay, but did not see Nikki between them. Nikki watched him retreat in the direction she longed to run, back through the cornfield, toward her house, where surely her brother and supper were waiting. But between here and there were likely two strangers. Nikki still didn't dare leave her hiding place. Jeremiah will come soon. He'll bring the dogs. We'll all be safe, she assured herself. She tried and tried to believe it. She hoped so hard she wore herself out. When Nikki woke up the third time, a full moon shone above. She heard the call of her brother's whistle and almost mistook it for the wind. But the notes came again, one high, one low, and she knew it was finally him. Nikki stepped out from between the hay bales and jumped at what she saw. A pale, shimmering ghost wove in and out of the rows of corn. It was as bright and untouchable as moonlight, but as real as the terror that filled Nikki's lungs and drowned out her scream. The ghost floated away, and the whistle floated behind it. The sound jolted Nikki back to life. She ran. She ran faster and harder than she'd ever run before. Around the ghost, through the corn, over the hill, and toward home. She didn't look back to see if the ghost followed. She looked only forward, but her vision was blurred with tears. She saw nothing until she reached for the doorknob to her house and saw it wasn't there. Nikki gasped. The house was gone. The entire thing. Only a crumbled foundation was left in the place where her home had once been. She wanted to sink to the ground, let the ghost and fear consume her. But she couldn't do that. She had to find Jeremiah. She ran to the neighbor's house and banged on the door until finally someone answered. Nikki had never seen the surprised-looking woman who opened the door in pajamas, but there was no time to ask who she was. The real question was much more important. "Have you seen my brother?" Nikki asked. "Jeremiah?" The woman appeared stunned. She blinked, then laughed. "Nice try, but I don't believe in ghosts." She tried to shut the door. Nikki stopped her. "Ghosts?" she repeated. "Jeremiah of the cornfields, right?" the woman said. "The boy who lost his sister? The one who hides while he seeks?" Nikki's mouth fell open. She found she couldn't speak. The woman shook her head. "Sad story, if you believe it. Though at least the first part's true. The sister ran off to play hide and seek, and the boy couldn't find her. Thought she must have fallen asleep in the corn. But the search parties never found her either, nor sign of her body or bones." Nikki stared. The woman continued. "Their poor parents assumed she was kidnapped. The both of them died from grief. But the brother, Jeremiah, he never stopped looking. Every day of his life, he went out and searched, called for the girl in the cornfields, but of course, she never called back. He finally passed a generation ago. Some say he's still there when the corn is tall, on nights when the moon is full, whistling, whistling, but she never whistles back." Nikki pinched herself, but she was fully awake. This wasn't a nightmare. It was real. "What was her name?" she asked, to make sure. "The ghost's sister, the one who's missing." The woman tilted her head to one side. "Well, gosh, I can't say. I guess if anyone knew, they've forgotten. She'd be long gone by now, that's for certain." The woman smiled. "Oh, look, a pretty sunrise." She pointed behind Nikki. Nikki turned and saw the orange sky. The full moon was gone. Her heart felt empty. "Go on home now," the woman said. She closed the door. Nikki walked slowly to the cornfield. She moved through the corn grown high as her head and skimmed its rough leaves with her fingers. She emerged on the side with the hay bales. She settled between them to wait.
Oh, that was so good.
Thank
Oh,
you.
where did the inspiration for this one come from?
As I mentioned, I named the brother after my brother a little bit and the girl after myself. And I was thinking about, I like scary stories that center around strange feelings more than around monsters or frightening things like that could physically hurt you. I like the emotional hurt. And I was thinking about eerie settings and feeling lonely and forgotten. And I wanted to write about a story about someone who actually feels like she's gotten forgotten, or maybe like the one person who remembers her can't find her. So that's what I was thinking about.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, that's such a twist in the story too. So how long has Nikki been missing at this point? Do you have an idea of that, or are we left to wonder?
Well, if her brother died a generation ago, I don't know how we're defining a generation, but if he's been dead for many, many decades, then she's probably been gone about 100 years is what I'm guessing. That he lived a long life looking for her every day, as a brother's penance should be if he didn't find his sister during the game of hide and seek. It was his job.
The stakes have been raised again. Oh, wow. No, that's just amazing. And then also, too, just thinking, because how do you find the balance between writing a story that is scary, but also gentle enough scary for kids?
It's a great question. I think kids are tougher than a lot of adults. So probably if I can handle the story, those brave kid readers can handle even more than I can. But that's a lot of where revision comes in. We've talked before about how when I write a story, I don't just sit down and write and then it gets published and you read it. I sit down and write it and then I revise to make it better and better and better, the best that I can. So getting that amount of scariness or amount of silliness, or that creepy feelings just right, is how I do that in revision. And I pay a lot of attention to the details that relate to our senses. What are we smelling and feeling and seeing and hearing? I like the idea of that 2-note whistle in a cornfield and him waiting for her to whistle back, but she never does. So that sound was an inspiration for this story. And for the others in the book, I pay a lot of attention to all those sensory details throughout.
No, that's just amazing, because I know like that as soon as you do the imagery you use too, it's just like as soon as you mention something, like, oh my goodness, I picture that. And I think that you do such a great job of taking the everyday things, like if you visited a cornfield, if you live near a cornfield, you know exactly what you're talking about. How was that influenced as well by where you grew up?
Oh, well, I grew up on an island off the coast of Maine, as you know, Mr. Limata. And I actually wrote the first 13 of these 20 scary stories while I was in Maine, in the house where I grew up, where there isn't a cornfield, but there is a giant field behind the house. And there's a big barn where spider webs grow, and there are creaking floorboards. And when visitors come, I often need to leave a night light on for them because they find it scary that bats come out of the eaves at night. I grew up there, so I don't find that as scary as someone who grew up in a city might. But I was absolutely inspired by the setting and how many of those details I could put in, and also thinking about what I remember from the books I read as a kid, right? That I was there in that place and thinking about what I read when I was 9, 10 years old. There was a book called Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark by Alvin Schwartz. And I remember so many vivid details from those stories that I read at that age. And once I started remembering them, I remembered more and more and felt terrified. And needed to write my own scary story where I was in control of the scary things as the writer. I get less scared by the stories I write myself than by the stories I read or watch that other people made.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And too, like, you read those. So do you still get scared by other people's stories, other scary stories?
Absolutely. I'm a huge wuss. I get very, very scared very easily. If you'd ever like to terrify someone, make up a scary story and tell it to me, because I will feel that shiver up my spine. I am the kind of reader who really feels what characters are feeling. If it's a happy, joyful story, I feel that happy joy. If it's a sad story, I might start crying. If it's a scary story, I will be freaked out. So
no, it's such. I'm trying right now to put this together, put Anna Banana together, and then put, like Sophia on the Moon together, and just thinking like,
where do you get all that, like all these different stories? I know you've mentioned like now, like inspiration from your brother or, like growing up but how do all those worlds come together for you?
Well, I love to read all kinds of different kinds of books and stories. Some readers find a single series they love and want to read every book in that series and then go back to the beginning. I'll want to read every book in that series I love, but I also want to read a completely different kind of book for the next book. And so partly I write lots of different kinds of stories because I love to read or watch or listen to lots of different kinds of stories. But for me, I will say that I think there is a common theme in all of them, whether I'm writing a funny picture book about a teacher who's so in love with the class pet he can't tell all the problems it's causing, or whether I'm writing a story about little pigs who are watching out for wolf and what's going to happen, or a story about a fight with a best friend and how to satisfy yourself and your friend, or really scary stories. I'm writing about the boundaries and depths of really important relationships, a brother and a sister, and how much does he love that sister that when she's gone, he will search for her every day. How important is this friendship that you will or won't make up when something pretty bad has happened in it? The piggies and wolf, I don't want to give anything away, but the piggies and wolf have a pretty important relationship that is explored in this book, or that, how far will Mr. Stricker go, to keep loving this animal that is tearing apart his classroom, and how far will the kids go to save him? There's that there's that love that the characters have, and I'm exploring what happens when funny things or scary things happen that get in the way of what those relationships expect.
Yeah. And I know that you also do a different kind of writing, which is music, or play music. Do you ever do scary music, or like, I don't know if I can call it, I don't know how to describe it, but yeah.
One of the things I like to do when I'm just playing violin on my own is see what kinds of sounds I can make, right? So can you make it sound creepy? Can you make it sound like someone would want to dance to it? Can I make it sound like an Irish jig or a traditional folk tune from someplace else, to pick up those sounds and create them? The lyrics that I write for my band to play, I haven't written one that's scary yet, but I am going for different kinds of emotions, right? If I'm not trying to frighten someone, I'm trying to make them feel a certain sadness or a certain joy, or make people laugh. And that emotional experience is something that I do think about, whether I'm writing or playing. I love that question. It's a great question. Those of you who like to make up stories too, if you think about how you want your reader to feel during different parts of the story, that's a good way to help you revise to create the reading experience that you want.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And for those of you that are joining us, just joining us, we're joined by ANICA MROSE RISSI, and I'm so glad that I'm able to say MROSE. Wow, I struggled with that one. ANICA MROSE RISSI, author extraordinaire, and just happy today that she got to read to us story number 1 in Hide and Don't Seek, and I just love it. And if you miss it, please make sure that you go back and check it out. And of course, find this book where you find books, your local libraries, ask for it at your school libraries, and of course, find it where you get books, wherever you get books. It is a classic already, and I've enjoyed reading it here. But ANICA too, like with the works that you've done and works that are coming out, are there any other works that you're doing right now?
I'm currently waiting to hear what my editor thinks of the book I've been working on all summer. Even multi-published writers still get rejections. We write things that don't reach our own standards, don't reach somebody else's standards, or just won't have a wide enough audience. But I spent a lot of time not only writing this book, but revising it to make it better and better and better. And I'm keep your fingers crossed for me. I have a lot of hope that she will like the new version of it. So I'm waiting to hear if that's what's next, or if one of the other ideas that I want to play with.
And how long has this book been in the making?
I thought of the idea on a train ride in November of 2016 and wrote down those first scribbles of it, and thought about it for years before I started writing the first draft. about a year ago.
Oh, wow.
So I've been actively writing and revising for a year. And then
That's-
if my editor loves it, I will revise even more based on her feedback. She will tell me how
Yes.
she feels as a reader when she reads different parts, what parts made her laugh, what parts made her sad, what parts made her a little bit bored, or that she wished the pacing were different, or was confused and needs more explanation or more description. She will give me all that feedback, and that will help me make it even better before it reaches other readers.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And you know, like another thing too is like when we're working in the classroom, you get a lot of times where students are like, hey, you know, like I'm finished or I'm stuck. What do you have, like what prompts, what keeps you going, you know, like times when you feel like you're done or times when you feel like I cannot go on? What are some things that you do that help you move forward?
That's a great question, because every single writer I know, and I know a lot of writers at this point, reaches some point in almost every story they write where they think, this is terrible. I don't want to keep writing it. No one's ever going to want to read it. For me, I think I should just run outside and be a professional tree climber instead.
Oh.
And sometimes that's what I need to do. I need to go outside and climb a tree, or put it aside, eat dinner, take a nap, wait until a day passes. And when I come back to the story, if I've been stuck, I will see more to add to it. I just need to take a break from it. And when I return, I'll know what to do. Sometimes I need to show it to someone and see how it feels for them to read it, get some feedback from a friend. And that will help me loosen up new ideas that might come from it, or know that, oh, this part that I meant to feel funny wasn't as funny as I could make it. Now I know that I need to go back in and do more of that. Sometimes it's that I had a really great idea to start with, and I wrote it, and then now what? And I might need another idea in that book. Maybe I don't have enough ideas piling in there. There's the choreographer, Twyla Tharp, has a wonderful quote. I'm probably going to botch, but she says that you need one idea does not make a story. You need a second idea to rub against it to make that fire. So sometimes when I get stuck, I need more things to be happening. I go back to my original brainstorming. What other story can I tell in this story that will intersect with the first one to make it happen? And sometimes,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Sometimes you just need time away from it, and then when you come back, it'll be.
Those are useful tips. I really like that. No, and I will be sharing this with my students, because a lot of times we write and we get stuck, and sometimes they'll ask me, it's like, what do you think? And I'm like, at this point, maybe I need time to sit with your writing as well to come up with something.
But it helps me so much knowing that other writers, even published writers whose books I love, that they feel that way too in the process. Because when it happens to me, that helps me not feel like, sometimes you can think, it's that my story's no good or that I'm no good. That's not what it is. It's that it's part of the writing process. And I can tell you, because I've written a lot of books now, that I tend to feel it around the same stage in several of the books. So I know that if I'm in that kind of middle of a story and I start to feel that way, maybe I just need to push myself to write a terrible first draft so that I can then go back and revise it. Because I always feel that way in the middle. So maybe it's just a matter of keep going, even though it's miserable, until you get to a point where you can make it less miserable. But I also know that I usually enjoy the beginning of writing, that when I first sit down and start, I'm usually pretty excited. So if I'm not excited in the beginning, or if I hit a stumbling block too soon, that's less usual for me. So maybe that's when I need to add more ideas, or, think through what I'm doing differently. So knowing those pieces of your own process of, here's where I always feel kind of lousy about it. Maybe it's not that it's lousy. It's just that that's where I feel that way.
I know we've talked about this a little bit before, but when do ideas come to you? Like you mentioned being on the train and having an idea come up, and when do ideas come to you? And then also just with that in mind too, is like, do you write from the same place the whole time? Are you one of those people that, like follows a certain ritual, or how do you go about your process?
Ideas come all the time in all different places. And because of that, I keep notebooks everywhere. I have them in every pocket, in every bag, in my car, in every room of my house. Some writers have one notebook for each project. That's way too organized for me. I just need to have paper and pen somewhere so that when an idea comes, I can write it down. And often I won't even know where that idea belongs or what kind of story it's going in. It's just an idea that interests me. And if it's interesting to me, I'm going to write it down because maybe I'll keep thinking about it. And when I write things down, that invites more ideas to join them. They know that there's a place where ideas go. I've written down this idea. Maybe other related ideas will come to it. Maybe they won't, but maybe they will. So first I start with writing down ideas as they come in a notebook and thinking about them and adding more ideas that come.
Yeah.
Then I type those up and I start to write a story once I have a bunch of ideas to go in a story. But no, I don't keep I try to write every day or think about what I'm writing every day. But some days I write right here on this couch. Some days I write upstairs. Sometimes I write at the dog park while my dog is sniffing other dogs' butts. You have to just, the idea is to keep doing it, but for me, not be too precious about it. I need to be in a perfect silent room where nothing else exists because that's not real. So sometimes you just have to sit down and work wherever you are because that's what's happening.
No, that's amazing. And I know too that, it's Halloween now. It's Halloween. You have this amazing book. Yeah, right. And then so for you, are you a Halloween person? And like, how has that changed over the years for you?
I was definitely a Halloween kid who loved to make costumes. My mom was really great at helping me make the costume of whatever I wanted to be. And I love to make anything. So that was great. But, I grew up, like I've said, on an island in Maine. So there weren't sidewalks I could walk down to other people's houses and ring a lot of doorbells and get a ton of candy. My parents had to drive us from house to house, and it was pretty far, which meant, first of all, a costume has to be something you can get in and out of a car easily. It's cold in Maine, so it has to involve multiple layers to keep you warm. And my parents would kind of get sick of driving us around. And my dad was a doctor in this really community, and he liked, if it was his turn to drive us for Halloween, my brother and me, he liked to drive us to the house of people that nobody else was visiting them for trick-or-treating. So somebody who maybe had been sick and was stuck in their house, which meant they didn't have any candy. So he knew that it would be exciting for them to see us in our costumes, and we would go and say Happy Halloween and cheer them up while they were sick. But it meant that I usually didn't get a lot of candy as a kid. So I loved the costumes, and it was fun to go to the houses that I got to and show it. But one of the great things as an adult, I haven't been dressing up, but I do eat a lot of candy because as an adult, I can buy my own candy and get a proper amount of it. I was a deprived child.
Oh my goodness. What's your go-to?
Reese's peanut butter cups.
Oh yes, those are good.
What's yours? What's your favorite Halloween candy?
Anything chocolatey. Anything chocolatey, I am on it. So, like Reese's peanut butter cups, because they have the chocolate layer, I am on them. And so, anything chocolately and also with nuts, then you got it.
Same. Those are the good ones. You can come to my house. I'll let you have some of my candy.
Yes. I was also thinking too, like, what's your most memorable costume as a kid growing up, or even later as an adult? Like, what was one where you're like, that one, I nailed it?
The costume I really wish I could have in my size now. I think I was 6 or 7 when I really wanted to be a dolphin for Halloween. And I actually didn't make this costume. My mother made me a full-size soft gray outfit with the dolphin head coming up over like a hood, and then it was full body, long and soft, and then the tail dragging behind. So basically, it just looks like the most comfortable Snuggie you've ever seen, like a full body hoodie. So I want that just so I can cuddle in it on my couch when I'm cold. That was an amazing costume, and I really looked like a dolphin.
I love it. No, I had one, because in Zambia we didn't quite, we didn't quite celebrate Halloween as much. We watched the movies when you knew it was Halloween. All the networks would have Halloween movies and stuff. But we never actually celebrated until much later in life when I was an adult. And this one time, it was just like, oh, you're being invited to this Halloween party. And I was like, what am I going to do right now? And I just looked around what I had. I had a mango tree in the back of the house. So I went and just broke it off. Initially, it was a cloth. I had this I actually still have it. I think I haven't put it up on the walls here, but it's a wall hanging. And so I just went and I was like, looked at it. It reminded me of the Maasai in Kenya. And so I was like, oh, that one. So I went and took it down and then just tied it around, you know, like kind of like the Maasai do, if you've seen. I just tied it around over my shoulder. I was like, oh, this works. And then I went, broke off a mango tree and just made a ball for like a bow and arrow from that. Like, and so I had that, and I have a picture. I wish I had it ready to share. But yeah, that was one of those costumes where I was just like, huh. And then when I got to the party, everybody was like, that's such a good costume. I was like, oh, I
Nice.
about 15 minutes ago.
Are you dressing up this year?
I always. I haven't said what I'm going to be yet, but like I'm excited. Lydia of Storytime too. She's made me she's laughed at me because I've cheated before. I've been a cyclist and I cycle. That's not a costume. So I've really upped my game now. I've upped my game. Like the last two were pretty epic. I was Statue of Liberty, courtesy of Lydia too. And then before that, what was the other one I was? Oh, No David from
That's such a great book.
Yeah, so it was really cool to be that. And so now I feel like I've gotten, you know, my toes into good costumes. And so
Excellent. I do love a good bookish costume when someone dresses as a favorite character. That's so much fun.
yeah, no, that was good. And also just from, especially if I'm at school, like just the kids recognizing it and just being like, no, David, oh, this is just like, oh yeah, this was good. So I felt like that one definitely was a good one. And then this year, I'm hoping to go with something with a little more spiders and stuff on it. Just
creepy.
Yeah, that creepy feeling. And so yeah, that's where I am. I'm excited. This Friday, we have Spirit Week at my school this week. And on Friday, we get to do the celebration. And then, yeah. So do you get kids in the neighborhood coming to your place?
Sometimes, some years I give them books because I don't always know if, and the candy is for me, so I don't know.
Are you now those people that don't give candy?
No. To carry it on as the other side of it. No, but now that there's bigger trunk or treat celebrations in my neighborhood, so my actual street doesn't get a lot of traffic. That's why I never know. Some years I've had 0, some years I've had 2 kids come. So it's sad. I don't get
we see the wisdom of your dad now.
Exactly. If only he would drive me some kids and then I would scramble to give them a quarter or something. I think that's
come on, parents, drive your kids to that Halloween. Oh, that is awesome. Well, ANICA, you know, like, I mean, as you know, we could always just go on forever talking, and I enjoy so much just hearing about what you're doing and your thought process. And I think I'm trying to think here, but I think you might be the first person that has come to Storytime twice.
Ooh, I'm honored.
It is because I remember the very first guest I had is a friend out in Portland, Rose Collins. She's written an amazing book called Should I Say Hi? She came on, but that we tried and we only ended up with the audio. The video was just a mess, and so finally she came on after, you know, like figuring out how best to go live. But you were the first person to come on fully second time, and I appreciate you for that. Thank you, you know, like for taking the time to be here today.
Thank you for having me and for all that you do to spread stories around the world. It's really great.
You know, like you do such an amazing job, and you know, like I always say, thank you to the creators. Thank you, you know, like to all the publishers and everybody for allowing us to have these stories here. But I'm saying it to you, you know, like I really appreciate it and thank you. And it's just, you know, you've given us a whole gamut of stories here, you know, like just easy laughs to this one that kind of really gets us, you know, like thinking and wants you to snuggle up and just enjoy. It is a definitely like hot chocolate kind of story, and just enjoy. And perfect for the season too. But honestly, I feel like it's perfect for every day. if you're one of those that just wants to read stories in the dark, just read under with your flashlight. Like this is definitely for that. And thank you so much. Wishing you the best with the upcoming book. I
Thank
cannot
you.
wait. I cannot wait to hear about
Scary.
it. But also, like, where can people find you? Is there anything that you would like to share with us before you head on out? And yeah,
You can find me online at anicarissi.com and on Instagram and Twitter at anicarissi. But mostly I just want to say, I hope these stories scare you silly. And thank you for listening to the first one. And I hope everyone has a really happy Halloween.
yeah. Oh, thank you so much. No, I really appreciate that. And like it is, how we say, like, instant classic. This is one of those. I've read it and gone through, and I'm just like, I love this. I love this so much. And then the cover too. Who designed it?
Oh, isn't that amazing? That's the art is by Carolina Godina and the design is by David DeWitt, who also did all the interior design of. He'd hand lettered all of these chapter titles that go with Carolina's art, and he put amazing little scary details in throughout.
Yeah,
you'll see the skull.
The skull, I love it. I love it.
Who shows up all over the place. He did a really great job. Those of you who are interested in art and design, this is a book to look at. Yeah,
no, it is absolutely lovely. And even just that first part where it says, like on the inside sleeve, where it says, just where it says, if you're feeling brave, and then it turns to red. I just feel like there's such an impact with that as well. Like, turn the page.
That's all David DeWitt. I admire his work so much.
Yeah, no, I love it. Thank you for sharing this, for sharing your work. And, like, you're a part of our Storytime family, and we hope that this is not the last time that we're seeing you. Like, I hope for many more visits. And just also, like, just for what you're doing out there, sharing these stories. And I hope that, like, inspiring the kids out there, like, writing is a profession. Writing is a career we can do. And I know you've been around books and now, like, writing them. And so it's just really fun seeing you doing this, and just I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I'll catch you on the other side. And oh my goodness, thank you for joining us today. Well, if you're joining in Storytime at this point, I'm sure you could just see just how wonderful ANICA RISSI is, and every time it's such a pleasure to just interact and hear how she's doing. And of course, we had this wonderful story, Hide and Don't Seek. I love it. It's a collection of amazing books and amazing stories in here, scary stories. So do read them. It is the time of the year. And you know what? Any time of the year, please do enjoy them and read them. And of course, if you want to find ANICA, go ahead and find out all that she does at anicarissi.com. And of course, find her, follow her on Instagram and Twitter at ANICA RISSI, and find out a lot more of what she's doing. And of course, if you have questions, always just send them either my way or send them her way. And I will do my best. The ones that you send to me, I will try and get them to her as much as possible. But please, I hope you enjoyed it. Happy Friday to all of you. Happy Halloween. Go out there. I hope you enjoy the treating, and I hope you enjoy the tricking if you're one of those people. But thank you so much for being here on Storytime. Absolutely love and appreciate each and every one of you. Please always remember, every little thing that you do matters. Every little thing that you do counts. Your voice matters. You matter. And as you go out in this world, remember that we're playing a part to make it better, right? The world doesn't always give us what we hope for, but we can still play our part and keep on giving, keep on moving the chain, keep on passing that baton of goodness all around. Thank you so much for joining me on Storytime. I will see you again No, not tomorrow. Today's Friday. It's supposed to be Friday. But we're recording this on Monday. So I will see you again next Monday. Thank you for joining in. And I hope that you enjoy it. Happy Halloween. Have a happy weekend. And I hope that you had a lovely Friday. As you go into this day, if you're like me early in Auckland, I hope that you have a beautiful rest of the day. Much love from me. Bye-bye.
Welcome back. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed my conversation there with ANICA, MROSE, RISSI, and of course, just the reading. Wasn't that a wonderful story? I absolutely agree with you, Marietta. It was such an awesome story. Such an awesome story. And I love that I was able to sit back today and listen while somebody else read. It is beautiful indeed. Thank you so much for joining me on Storytime today. I will see you again next week, Monday. But for those of you, the grown-ups that will be joining me on the weekend, we are back here on Sunday. Look out for the event details that are coming up, and so you can join in and have the fun and be scared a little bit as well. Please enjoy yourselves. Have a lot of fun. I know there are a lot of parties going on. Friday parties going on, Saturday, Halloween everywhere. I hope that you have fun and join me on Monday for exciting stories, but also join me on Sunday. Come on up. All you adults, come and join in and enjoy a story. And you have those brave kids out there, maybe they can join in with you. Thank you so much for being here on Storytime with me. Absolutely appreciate the time that we spend together. And yes, indeed, thank you to my guest today, ANICA, MROSE, RISSI. I absolutely enjoyed the reading and also the conversation. Just great to hear how she goes about her process and, of course, the amazing books that she's given us over the years. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that you have a lovely day out there. And remember that Storytime is always available, comes to you live at 7 a.m. Pacific time, but you can also catch us for the recording at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And you know what? Our archives on YouTube and Facebook are available all the time. And of course, find these books where you find books, your local libraries, your school libraries, wherever you find books, find them, read them at home, enjoy them some more. And you know what? Send me your recommendations. I would love to hear what you like, and so we can bring it here to Storytime for you. This has been Storytime for this week, but we're back Sunday. Join me for a scary story. And of course, Monday, we're back. Dia de los Muertos on Monday, and then we read on other stories as well to continue. Thank you for being here. I wish you the very best of days. Absolutely love the time that we spent together. Thank you for being here. Much love from me. I will see you again. Well, some of you on the weekend, but definitely back on Monday for more stories. Good morning to you, Catherine Juhel. Yes, one person that has done amazingly well in sending me recommendations. I absolutely appreciate them. Definitely giving me a whole bunch of things to think about, and definitely great books that I hope to still bring to story time. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope you're well out in Virginia. If you missed the rest of this recording, please do catch it. Go back, watch from the beginning. Hear ANICA, MROSE, RISSI read from her wonderful story, Hide and Don't Seek, and other very scary stories. So we read story number 1 from this one, and it is a wonderful book indeed. I encourage you to get this one, have it at home so you can read it some more. Thank you for joining me on Storytime. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and please remember, Storytime can be found in our archives, but also go to the library, use them. There are resources that are there for us. Go and use them. Get books from there and find out what other things they can help you with. Thank you so much for joining me in Storytime today. Absolutely love it. And go out there, have some fun, enjoy yourself. We'll see you again next time. Much love from me. Bye-bye.
It brings to life your favorite stories with his great big smile. You won't live lonely, won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be hearing. Read me all of your stories. Read me all of your stories. Some with people who look like me, others very different from the way that I look and think. Read me all of your stories. Read me all of your stories. Some stories from far away, others right here in my neighborhood. Read me all of your stories. Read me all of your stories, some with people that look like me, others very different from the way that I look and think. Read me all of your stories. Read me all of your stories, some stories from far away, others right here in my neighborhood. Story time. Ooh. Story time. Story time with Mr. Limata. He will be starting soon. Oh. Story time with Mr. Limata, where all your dreams come true. Oh. He brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely, won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be hearing. Brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely, won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be hearing.